Hello, my dear students. I know, exams are right here and the pressure is on. But today, we're going to talk about one of my favorite chapters from your Flamingo book, Indigo. And I promise you this isn't just a story about a crop. It's an amazing story about where real courage and leadership come from.
Yes, I know the chapter can feel a little long, a little complicated, but don't you worry at all. We're going to break it down piece by piece so it becomes super simple. So just relax, take a nice deep breath. Chalo, let's start.
All right, so where does this huge story even begin? Well, it doesn't start with some big, powerful leader. Nope, it all starts with a simple farmer who just wouldn't take no for an answer.
So, let's meet our first hero, Rajkumar Shukla. Now, he was a poor sharecropper, a bataidar, from a place called Champaran in Bihar. And get this, he couldn't read or write, but he was incredibly determined. He heard about Gandhi and traveled all the way to a big Congress meeting in Lucknow just to find him and say, please, you have to come and help us.
Okay, now listen up, Butcho. This is a very, very common exam question, so pay close attention. The book uses this specific word for Shukla, resolute. So what does that really mean? And how did he prove it? Let's figure it out.
His determination was just on another level. Gandhiji was super busy, traveling all over India. But Shukla didn't care. He literally followed him everywhere, to Kanpur, to his ashram in Ahmedabad. For weeks, he just stayed by his side with one simple request: fix a date. Just give me a date. And you know what? Months later, when Gandhi arrived in Calcutta, Shukla was right there waiting for him. Now that is being resolute.
So Shukla's amazing persistence actually worked. He brought Gandhiji all the way to Bihar. But what was the problem? What was this big injustice that needed Gandhi's help? It all comes down to one thing: indigo.
Okay, let me explain this system. It was basically a trap. So most of the good farmland was owned by English landlords, and the Indian farmers were forced into a contract. They had to plant indigo on 15% of their land. And the worst part, the entire indigo crop had to be handed over to the landlords as rent. Imagine all that hard work for nothing. But then, something totally unexpected happened. A big twist in the story. Way over in Germany, scientists figured out how to make synthetic indigo in a lab. And just like that, the natural indigo that our poor farmers were growing became completely worthless. The landlords didn't need it anymore.
So, what do you think the landlords did? Did they say, oh, okay, you don't have to grow indigo anymore. You're free? Haha, not a chance. They found yet another way to cheat the farmers. Can you guess how?
This is the part that is just so cruel. The landlords went to the farmers and said, hey, we'll let you out of this 15% contract if you pay us some money. Think about that. They were demanding money to cancel a contract that was already useless to them. The poor farmers didn't know about the German invention, so many of them paid. But once they found out the truth, they felt cheated. They wanted their money back. And that is why Rajkumar Shukla went searching for Gandhi.
And so, Gandhi arrives in Champaran. This is where the story goes from being just about a few farmers to a full-on confrontation with the British Raj. This is where it gets really exciting.
Now, Gandhi's style was very simple. He wasn't there to shout or protest right away. His first rule was always, get the facts straight. But the British officials got scared. They didn't want him asking questions and finding out the truth. So they tried to bully him into leaving.
But Gandhi had a plan. He went to Muzaffarpur first to talk to the lawyers and get all the details. Then he went to Motihari, the main town in Champaran, and set up a base to start his investigation. The British saw all this and got really nervous. That's when they gave him an official notice: get out of Champaran now.
And right here, this is the turning point of the whole freedom struggle. Gandhi took the notice. He signed for it to show he'd received it. And then he calmly wrote on it that he would disobey the order. Wow, that one little word, disobey, was a direct challenge to the entire British Empire.
So of course, they ordered him to appear in court the next day. But what happened that morning showed everyone that the real victory wasn't going to happen inside a courtroom. It was happening outside, in the hearts of thousands of people.
The next day, the whole town of Motihari was just a sea of people. Thousands and thousands of peasants came from all the villages. They weren't there to fight. They were just there to show their support for this Mahatma who was in trouble because he was trying to help them.
The British officials were stunned. They were completely powerless. They had never seen anything like this before.
And this is the most important point of all, Bacho. More than winning a court case, this was the real win. This was the moment the farmers were liberated from their biggest problem, fear. For the first time, they stood up together and weren't scared of the British.
The government had no idea what to do. Seeing this massive, peaceful crowd, they panicked. The top official, the lieutenant governor, had to step in order them to drop the case against Gandhi. And just like that, civil disobedience had won its first major battle in modern India. A huge, huge moment.
Okay, so the case was dropped, which is great. But what about the money that was unfairly taken from the peasants? That fight was still on. So a proper investigation was started.
After the investigation, it was clear the landlords were wrong. They had to pay the money back. Gandhi asked for 50%. The landlords, trying to be clever, offered only 25%. They thought Gandhi would say no. But, to everyone's surprise, Gandhi said okay. Just 25%? Why?
And here we are, Bacho, another super important exam question. It seems a bit strange, right? After all that, why did Gandhi agree to such a small refund when the peasants had been cheated so badly? Let's think about this.
You see, for Gandhiji, the amount of money was not the main point. What mattered was that the big, powerful British landlords were forced to give money back, even if it was just a part of it. For them, it was a loss of their pride, their is-it. But for the peasants, getting some money was good, but what they really gained was courage. They learned that they had rights and could stand up for them. That was the real victory.
But Gandhi's work in Champaran was still not done. For him, just winning a court case wasn't enough. He looked around and saw that he needed to help build a new India, right from the village level.
He saw so much poverty and the poor conditions people were living in. So he didn't just leave. He called for volunteers. They opened primary schools. His wife, Kasturbai, taught the villagers about cleanliness. They brought in doctors. He wasn't just a political leader. He was a social reformer, trying to improve people's everyday lives.
And this leads us to the final, most beautiful lesson of this chapter. At one point, a kind Englishman offered to stay and help their cause. The local lawyers were so happy, but Gandhi said no. He told them that for this fight, for India's freedom, they must rely on themselves. They must be self-reliant or Aatmanirbhar. This was their battle, and they had to win it on their own strength.
So that's the story of Indigo. It started with one determined farmer and grew into a movement that taught an entire nation about courage, justice, and self-reliance. I really hope this made the chapter easier for you. Just remember the key points we discussed. You've prepared well. All the very best for your exams, Bacho. You are going to be fantastic.